Hey guys, welcome to the Centre Bounce. Today we're talking about Patrick Cripps, the 611,900 midfielder from Carlton. Stay tuned. Big J, Big Paddy Cripps, the Brownlow medalist.
Mm-hmm.
He had a big season last year. You reckon he can back it up?
It's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, Carlton's changed a little bit. They're pushing for finals, probably a bit harder than what they were last year. There's not that excuse of, we've got to learn the new coach's game plan, all that kind of stuff. Supercoach-wise, he kind of provides a bit of a conundrum as well, where last year he was, I guess, underpriced is the right word. I think he had something like an average of an 80, came in at 450K. People were like, do we need to get him at all? Obviously, he had a few really good games to start with, and then everyone scrambled before the round 3 price rise. I know I did. But at 600K, he provides an interesting idea. Do you think he can back it up? I know there's some stats coming off Brownlow winners in their following years, how they kind of slump. So what do you reckon?
Personally, I think he can. I think this guy is really driven. He's really motivated. He understands that at the end of the day, it's all about trying to win a flag. It seems that he really loves his Blues, and he's playing his heart out for him. The guy got married, and he was very quickly back at preseason training. Didn't have a very long honeymoon. So clearly he's got his priorities set in a certain way, and it's all about success. And Carlton are really, I think he feels the Carlton fans, they're deprived of success for so long. They're all really hungry to finally get back to where they think that they belong, really. So, he's priced at 111. So he's added, 31 points to that average compared to what he entered the season last year. And I guess part of the reason why he was so cheap was because of his back, right? He was a very sore back after carrying the club for so long that he had so many issues with his back. He came in with a really cheap price, but now he's well and truly come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's always had this mindset, I guess, of even before Walsh came in of, hey, I'm the best player at Carlton. Everyone knows that. I've got to carry the team. A lot of them didn't take the not making finals last year kind of really hard because it was in their bag. It was theirs. They lost a few games or they won a few games by tiny margins instead of the 40 points that they went into the fourth quarter with. Hopefully that's kind of set a bit of a fire. And if I know Cripps and the way he kind of plays and the responsibility he puts on his own back, not even the team, not even just being the captain, but the responsibility he puts on himself to push the team, he's going to be fun to watch in 2023.
Exactly, and especially without Walsh early on. A lot of people weren't sure about how, he was going to interact with the likes of Hewitt, for example, entering the team last year. And it was actually really beneficial. It wasn't all on him to have to carry the burden. He had another fellow defensive-minded midfielder who was doing so much work around the ball as well that he was of massive help to everybody in the engine room. Him going down with injury, really sucked for Carlton, and their midfield potency just wasn't there as much as it was when he was in the team. So now there was also a period of time where they didn't have Pitt in it, and a guy of like Cripps' caliber, his size. They were throwing him in the ruck, and there was a lot of jokes during the season last year. Are we going to get Cripps freaking DPP status, mid-ruck status? It was insane. And unfortunately, that did some poor scores last year. And that's completely understandable. Out of his hands, really. He's definitely got another gear to go up to. Mark Pittenay is available. He's healthy. He's going to play round 1. And when Mark is playing, Cripps actually scores 24 points better. So keep an eye out for this guy. He's really exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. As you say, I think when TDK kind of took the reins as that main ruckman, he kind of either took the ball out himself or just kind of blindly hit it down to whoever. Whereas if Cripps is kind of going to be the Gorn to Oliver of Carlton, oi, 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 you don't want to not have him in your team.
Correct. And especially when you can see that this guy was pumping out massive scores. His back issues are gone. During those 2 injury riddled years, he averaged 21 disposals over 2020, 2021, whereas last year he bumped that average up to 28. So you can see that, with this increase in output and engagement, he was able to show a really high ceiling on a number of occasions with massive scores of 162 and 151 and 146. He had 8 of these monster scores over 120 last season, and 5 scores between 100 and 120. So you've got 13 scores that he's performing really well in, and another 3 games in the 90s. So now he did have a game where he scored 30 points, but that was because he was injured in the first quarter. He was on track for a 120. Don't you worry about that. So, he is well and truly someone that is capable of scoring, of really meeting that 111 average and then bumping it up. So that's a 111 average with a 30 in his game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the discrepancy between his bad and his good games is really going to shorten as well, being the Carlton team actually getting better. It's one of the things that I think people aren't really looking out for is, hey, this is a team that's actually going to start winning. I know they've got a bit of a stigma of, it's Carlton, they're a bit shit. They just get beaten. And we saw that a little bit last year, but Cripps still did really well. He still put the team on his back and tried to carry. One of the only real negatives for Cripps this year is obviously, there might be some other options at a similar price, but kind of what that midfield mix is going to look like. Doherty coming in, he's supposed to be playing majority mid. Sam Walsh being out for a while. I know Hewitt's going back there as well. We've talked about Pitnet. Kind of what it's going to look like, and can we bank on his kind of consistent scoring there? That's kind of what's holding me back a little bit. And I know that's the same for a lot of super coaches.
Yeah, I'm not on that boat. I think personally for me, this guy has been in my team basically all preseason. I know it's a bit of a spoiler here towards the end of the video, but personally, I think this guy has got so much upside, and I think there's definitely a lot of surety in the role that he's going to play. Yes, what the midfield lineup is going to look like depending on availability and health and fitness of the group, but I think a constant what's going to happen is Cripps will always be there in the middle. I think Cripps will always be the number 1 man in that midfield as well. Doherty is going to have some times in the midfield where he plays, and obviously will get some clearances himself. But I still think that a guy like Cripps will, he's just Mr. Inspirational for them. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he'll bust his gut, and he'll keep training. He'll keep running. And by reports, he is tearing up the preseason. He hasn't missed a beat. He's, like I said before, he's come back home. He's come back home to really work on off season as opposed to going away for a big honeymoon. For me, I think there is reliability in him, in that he was still able to average, 111 odd last year, whilst having some games playing in the ruck and a game where he was injured and had to be subbed off at quarter time. Personally, I think the upside's too much for that price point. At 611,000, I think personally the value is too good.
Do you reckon he's in the Brownlow race again this year?
Yeah. Why not? What's stopping him? The guy is not old. He's in the prime of his career. He's got a ruckman. He's got the number 1 ruck in Pittenegg. He's going to be playing. He's going to be getting some better hits to his advantage. He's not going to have Walsh taking points off him. He might share a bit with Doherty early, but I don't think Doherty maintains that midfield role when Walsh returns. So I still think he's their number 1 midfielder for Carlton. So he'll poll the most votes. I think he's, and I think Carlton will improve. I think Carlton will play finals this year. And I think if he was able to win the Brownlow last year, there's nothing stopping him from winning it this year, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think they've been working on their forward line dynamic as well. I know that Cripps has kind of gone forward a little bit instead of going on the bench, but building up that small forward brigade for them has been really important, and that wing brigade as well. So him having some more targets to actually kick the ball to is fantastic. I guess you've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but he's in your team at the moment.
Yeah, he is, and he really added to his bow last year. When he pushes forward, he can hit the scoreboard, and it doesn't matter if he's 50 meters out. The guy can launch a big goal. If I love it, him not going to the bench, instead resting up forward. He's got the cattle in there, and he's got the brigade in the midfield to help get him the ball. Honestly, I think this guy's too good not to play. He's a lock in my team. Is he in yours?
He's not someone that I've really considered. My midfield at the moment is very sparse. I'm putting a lot of cash in other positions and kind of just taking you super cheapos who will make some money or become keepers themselves. But if I went back to a more traditional style of actually doing it, I think I'd probably pick him over than, a Jack Steele, that kind of thing at the moment. So maybe you've convinced me a little bit there.
Awesome. But guys, do your own research, of course. This is just our view, and that has been our deep dive into Paddy Cripps, the superstar, the legend, the Superman out of the Carlton Blues, the one who's carried them through such dark times, and hopefully now into the light. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We've got a lot of content coming up. The preseason is well and truly on. Pracky games, round the corner. It's all happening, and it's all going to be covered here at the Centre Bounce.
Yeah. And remember, guys, we've got our Supercoach group for you guys to join as well. I'll put the information down in the description. Can win some awesome prizes. Here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you don't have to. Bye for now.